I am Nicola Cairncross. I've been online for over 25 years. And I know that because I was pregnant with my daughter Phoebe when I got my first laptop that plugged into the wall, and you heard that little whispery noise like a load of trolls in the wall there. And that was the AOL dial-up code. It was fantastically exciting. And the guy I bought the computer off said, if you plug it in there into your phone socket, you can talk to other people all over the world. And he had me like that. We had a record label at the time, so I immediately went out and got a book called HTML for the World Wide Web, and this was in 1995. Can you imagine such a thing? The internet had only actually been live online for about 3 years. That's how old I am. But it just caught my imagination. I loved the fact that you could make code, you could write code, you could upload it to the internet, you could make pictures. So I set up a website for our record label, which was called Esoteric Records, and we did house and garage music. That's how long ago it was. But we had an absolutely amazing time. My daughter's 28 now, so I've actually been online for 28 years, but I don't like to say that because it sounds a bit too elderly. So since the record label, I have marketed just about everything online. I've marketed everything for myself. My sister had a jazz album. I bought a hotel, no money down, and renovated that and did it up and had it filled within 12 weeks. I've always written a newsletter, a weekly newsletter since 1998. It's just bonkers, isn't it, when you say it like that? But I had a brilliant coach. First of all, I was taught by Thomas Leonard, and he was back in 98, 99 when Coach University started, if anyone remembers that. He was a genius at online marketing even then. So I really learned from the best. And then one of my business coaches was Chris Barrow, who's a British guy who coaches dentists. You probably know him if you're in the dental world. And he was just incredible at teaching us what to do as well. There was another guy called Guy Levine. But the one thing we did was we all got little 5-page websites going. We all wrote weekly newsletters, and we were hanging our asses out in public, as it's known, which means that we were being authentically 100% ourselves, because we all realized that the internet was a big wide world. And as Kate and William are finding out this week, you can't put any old picture up and expect to get away with it. So you need to be authentic. You need to be honest online. Your customers are either going to sing your praises or they're going to slag you off behind your back. So you've got to be real, you've got to be authentic, you've got to deliver value. And that weekly newsletter and a 5-page website built up very quickly into my first online business that was a success. It was called The Money Gym, and it was based on my first book that I wrote. And I wrote my book as a series of 101 emails, which were sent out every day after someone signed up for my newsletter. So they'd sign up, they'd get a 101 email sequence telling them everything they needed to know about how their money worked. And then they get a weekly newsletter as well. And then after a while, people started coming and asking me to coach them. And I was having to put a coaching program together that I hadn't actually even considered doing that. I was thinking I was going to make my money from advertising, but I put together a coaching program. People started signing up, and I started making money online, and I've never stopped since. So I was shadow banned in 2006 because they had a big clampdown on things that they saw as get rich quick schemes. I wish it had been. But then what happened was I moved on to the internet marketing side of things anyway, which was the bit I really enjoyed about the Money Gym generally. I love the workshops, I love working with clients, but I really love the marketing. So I then started working with lots of other people to market all sorts of businesses. I was working with a virtual midwife, a cement expert, someone who was growing hydroponic wheatgrass in Ireland, someone who was a super yacht skipper. And I've worked with authors, coaches, experts, speakers. I seem to have a bit of a superpower for finding people's hidden gold in their businesses, you know, the bits that they could be doing more, and not doing more themselves, but doing more with other people's help. I help people find out how to do more in their businesses, but not do all the work yourself, because I believe it's really important that you stick to what you're good at and what nobody else can do. And okay, so I'm going to rattle through some practical stuff, because I want you to come out of this with some real nuggets of gold about what you can do to really ramp up being everywhere online. And I call it that because it all flows from creating one piece of content a week, 12 pieces of content every 12 weeks, and then leveraging that piece of content everywhere you can with as little as work as possible. So if that sounds good, then hit some comments. Just say yes, yes, yes. Come on, show me how to do it. Okay, yeah, that hotel was a good one. All I had was an old guest book. I'll tell you very quickly because it's a good marketing story. And I had an old guest book with the signatures of the people who'd stayed there before. So what I did was I gave it to a local VA, and she typed up all the names and addresses for me. And I got postcards printed that had pictures of the hotel. And on the back it said, win a weekend, stay in style at the Acacia in Worthing. We're refurbed, we're reopened, and you could come and stay with us for free. All you have to do is put your name and email in this box. So I had a very simple website for the hotel. The funny thing was the hotel hadn't even been redecorated then. So I had to go and get some pictures from magazines and Dulux catalogues and things like that. But as soon as there were real photos, I swapped them out on the thing. But to get the postcards out, it worked a treat. And all the people would come, put the names and emails in to try it. And every week I'd pull a person who put their name and email in, but it converted the old guest book into a mailing list very, very quickly. And the other thing was we wrote a weekly blog from the hotel, which back in 2003 was absolutely, nobody else was doing it in Worthing. We were cleaning up. It was hilarious. And then I learned how to do Google AdWords. And so we had an ad on Google for every single thing that was going on locally, like going to Goodwood races, stay in style at the Acacia. Going to Brighton Pride, stay in style at the Acacia. So I was really cleaning up, doing really well with the hotel. But I got bored, as entrepreneurs do. So I'm a confident introvert action taker. And what I want to do is give you some encouragement today to take some action. So let me quickly whiz through the things I want to cover with you, because I'm very conscious of the time. Why have you got to be everywhere online? Because without social media, you are invisible. I've been through 2 periods in my life where I've not felt like doing social media for one reason or another, and my business fell off dramatically both times. If you're not putting some stuff out there as often as possible, then you are effectively invisible online. You've got to find a hungry, affluent crowd. I spent quite a lot of time looking for a business in the early days where people needed me or needed my solution to their problem. But you've got to find an affluent crowd, because the hardest thing in the world is to convince someone to buy from you. And the second hardest thing is to convince someone to buy from you who can't afford it. So you've got to try and find a pain, problem, or people who've got a pain or a problem. Make sure they can afford your solution, offer them the best solution. And what I tend to get people to do, new clients, I get them to cycle through 12-week cycles. So I'll say, if you're not sure who your ideal client is, let's pick 4 groups of people. And then I get them to come along to my ChatGPT app, which I've just developed to go with my book, A Better Entrepreneur. And basically you put in there the characteristics of each group. You do them one at a time. You put in the characteristics of each group, and you ask ChatGPT to act as if they were your ideal client. And then there's other things you can do, but what you're going to get to is a list of about 12 or 15 problems or pains, with the emotions that those pains generate and the practical problems that those things generate. And then that gives you your content to focus your social media content around for that 12-week cycle. So even if you're not sure, we can find 4 groups of people. We can pick the best one to start with. We can go through the creating the content, and then we'll find your best customers by doing it like that. And it takes all the pressure off you, because you don't have to pick the ideal customer straight off the bat. So the other thing you've got to do is you've got to face your fears. There's going to be lots and lots and lots of fears coming up. Today, I had a fear about getting online on Facebook Live, on Zoom, because I haven't done it before. But we're going to push you through it, because I know how to do it. I know how to do every kind of mailing list. I know how to do every kind of website. I know how to do YouTube marketing. I know how to do podcast marketing. I've produced thousands of episodes of podcasts for me and for other people. And you've got to just pick your content creation style that is the easiest for you. I went through a phase where I was making a video on YouTube every day. I did that for about 3 months flat. And then I took the videos and I turned them into audio, And then I took the audio and I turned them into transcriptions, and they turned into blog posts, and they turned into posts on Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Twitter. So we'll pick the thing that's easiest for you, because it might well be that video is the most practical way to create content, but it might not be the best way for you. So after my YouTube sprint, I was all burnt out, and I decided to go back to blogging for a while. So now I'm taking my written content and reading it out loud and turning it into audio, which then goes onto my podcast. And then I'm also now looking for an AI app where you can take an audio, upload it into the app, and it will pull out pictures and video clips for you to illustrate what you're talking about. So there's lots of different ways to, well, I wouldn't say skin a cat, because that's not very nice, but there's lots of different ways to create content. But if you remain focused on your ideal potential customer, the problems and pains they're facing, and then we can take it from there with you and help you push through the barriers and the fears. How am I doing for time? Okay, 20, 32, 10 minutes. Right, good. One of the things you've got to do is you've got to believe it will work. I've had many clients who have said to me, I mean, one of my clients is Dodge Woodall. He runs Bournemouth Sevens Festival down in Bournemouth, and he's got #3 podcast in the world right now, I think it is. And when he'd never heard of podcasting, he'd never done any social media. And when the festival was pulled in 2020, his mum came and said, you've got to come and talk to Nicola, because she knows how to create content out of expertise. And he had years of expertise in the event industry. But I remember one day, and in fact, he still texts this to me sometimes, because he's had 80 million views on YouTube. It's just unreal. And YouTube, TikTok, and the podcast has had 80 million views added together. And he'd never been on a podcast. He'd never listened to a podcast. So I sent him off to listen to Joe Rogan, Modern Wisdom, and what was the other one? Diary of a CEO. I said, go and listen to those 3 podcasts. That will give you a really good feel for how I think your podcast could go. And he got a little studio set up in the basement of his office. And one of his guys from the festival team, the rest of them were working on giving out refunds, but one of the guys came and helped him. And within 12 weeks of him launching his podcast, he had Harry Redknapp, who lived locally, ringing him up and saying, I've been given some money by ITV after I've won Celebrity. Will you produce my podcast for me, Dodge? And he ended up co-presenting with Harry Redknapp, which helped enormously, obviously. But the point is, he said to me, if I start one of these podcasts, Nick, what will happen? And I said, I don't know, Dodge, but I know something will, because it always does. And he just went at it. He just pushed through his fears. He pushed through his worries about what his peers would think about him starting a podcast. And these are the kind of fears that's where I come in. You know, anyone can start a business online. Anyone can find out what the tactics are to do. Anyone can find out what the software is to use. But it's all those internal fears that hold you back. And I'm pretty fearless. So I'm pretty good at helping my clients jump over those fears. You've got to make the ripples in the pond. The ripples in the pond will go out, they'll cross with the other ripples, and then when they come back, there'll be something completely different. That's the visual metaphor I think about all the time. If one of my clients says, I'm not getting enough clients, I'm not making enough money, I say, well, how many pebbles have you tossed in the pond this week? Because that's what you've got to do. You've got to make some ripples happen. Okay, no belief equals no action equals no outcome. So that's something to remember. So do what you love, leverage it, enhance it, make it better, spread it across social media, and do the same thing again. And then as soon as you can get to the point where you can outsource everything except the bits that only you can do, for example, talking to camera like this spontaneously, I can do this all day long. But if I had to make bullet points and write a script, oh no, I couldn't do it. So find out how you work best, get the content going, get it aimed at your ideal client, have their problems, pains, and preferences in mind, and just start, because magic happens when you just start. And if I could get you from even one bit of content a week, I mean, you'd be amazed how hard people find that. Then we can get you to 2 bits of content a week. And then I'm blogging every day at the moment, because I batch my blog post writing. So I think we're nearly there. This is unreal, this, isn't it? The speed of which you have to do it. I want you to come to nicolacairnx.com, and I will give you my book, Attract 3.0, that sets out my system in detail so you can follow it. and I'll give you my book, A Better Entrepreneur, about all the lessons, 25 of them, I've learned over the 25 years I've been in business and being an entrepreneur. Question you asked GPT. Jenny, if you come over and sign up for the newsletter and the books, I can then help you in a free Facebook group and share my prompts with you. It's all in the prompt writing with ChatGPT. The link is nicolacairncross.com. I think you can see it on the screen there, nicolacairncross.com. And I'll look forward to helping as many of you as possible, because as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about this. Okay, well, I think we'll leave it there, shall we? And look forward to seeing you and I'll see you all very soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.